My name is Kaylee, and I'm a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles. What I like to do in these sessions is really break down some of the text of A Course in Miracles to make it make sense. If you have been reading or learning from A Course in Miracles, you may know that sometimes there can be pretty dense text that can be pretty confusing to understand, like, what does this actually mean? And so in this session, I'm taking specific quotes from the Course and breaking down what does this mean in your reality? How do you actually apply it? Today we dive into chapter 6, which is all about attack and fear, understanding how our thoughts are creating our reality, but also how to identify as this soul self, recognizing that what we teach is what we learn, aka what we think about others or what we think about ourselves or what we think about the world is what we are learning how to perceive the world. So I'm really excited that you're here. I hope you enjoy. If you would like to be a part of the discussion that I talk about in the very beginning of the video, that's inside of my community called Heaven on Earth Academy, where we all meet together, not only discussing A Course in Miracles, but also understanding the cycle of remembrance, recognizing that we are all here to remember our soul on a very deep and true level. I give resources, guidance on exactly how to go about doing that in your own way, in your soul's way. And most importantly, we do it together, recognizing that we're really here to remember that we're all one anyway. So enjoy today's video, and then you can come join us inside Heaven on Earth Academy at the link underneath here or in my bio. See you next time.
Alrighty, so per usual, what I'll do here is I'll go into chapter 6, talking about it for a little bit, and then we'll kind of open up discussion and talk about it and anything that comes up. If you have any questions you want to write down, feel free to write things down as they come up. Otherwise, listen, absorb, and let any questions and or comments. Like if anything feels engaging to you and you want to talk about it afterwards, keep that in mind. Alrighty, let's jump right in. This is about attack and fear. I feel like the titles of the chapters are always so aggressive, and then you get inside and it's kind of nice, you know? So before we get into it, I want to prompt with a question just to get you thinking about. You don't necessarily have to write it down. You very well can if you want to. And I just want you to ponder over briefly, what is a challenging situation going on in your life right now? And the one that came up first is the right one. Just allow something to come to mind, and notice here too how it's really easy to think about the worst case scenario in life. Like, what is the worst case scenario of this thing? And oftentimes, what we do is we lay there at night, or we're going through our day and we think, oh my God, what if this happened? What if the worst case scenario happened? And so, for just a moment, I want you to bring that to the forefront. Again, it's probably very easily accessible, but that one thing, that anxiety that plays out the most. And just clock it, bookmark it. We're gonna save that for later, because I do want to come back to that. So today I'm gonna separate this into two parts. We're going to first talk about the outcome of like what is the point? What is the point of moving from fear to love? What are we kind of like being promised here inside of A Course in Miracles? What is really possible for us? And then I'm gonna dive deeper into like how. Okay, how do we actually move from fear to love? And per usual, I'm going to read the text and then break it down of like, what does that actually mean? I'm going to start with this first text. Again, I'll just drop it in the chat as I read it in case you want to read it too. It says, "Believe with me, and we will become equal as teachers." Reminder, this is Jesus talking to us. "Your resurrection is your reawakening. I am the model for rebirth. But rebirth itself is merely the dawning on your minds of what is already in them. God placed it there himself, and so it is true forever. I believed in it, and therefore made it forever true for me. help me to teach it to our brothers in the name of the kingdom of God. But first, believe that it is true for you, or you will teach amiss. I really love this because it's like such an iteration of like Jesus came to show us what is really possible. Jesus was like, hey, look, you have this within inside of you. You have the ability to remember that your soul is inherently one with the creator of all that is, that you have and that you are everything. He said, I believed in it, and therefore it forever made it forever true for me. And the thing that I really want to point out in this one thing, it says, help me teach it to your brothers in the name of the kingdom of God. But first believe it is true for you, or you will teach amiss. This is really what we're going to be diving in today, this like teaching aspect. I talked on this in our last chapter too, and it's so much of what A Course in Miracles is about, is this teaching element. And it says essentially that in order to teach it, you must first believe that it is true for you. And this belief it's getting at is simply believing that we can remember we are one with all that is, that we are our souls, that we are not the body, we are not the fear thoughts, the separation, but we are what is behind that. And when we believe that, we inherently teach that. And like I'm sure Michaela is experiencing right now, like that is a teaching experience of like how it is that you're showing up and choosing to show up in love. And it's not necessarily because you're like, well, let me tell you about A Course in Miracles, like you're not teaching the words. You're teaching by embodying and being and showing up in love and forgiveness. And that is what teaching means. And I just want to point this out, like make it so loud and clear, because A Course in Miracles talks about how this is a course and is mandatory. Everyone takes it. And you're like, what? Not everyone's going to read this book. But the Course in Miracles is the course in remembering, the course in realizing, oh, yeah, this is a human experience and I'm a soul. Everyone takes this course because everyone dies. So whether or not you choose to remember now or at the very end of your life when you return to soul, doesn't matter. Everyone takes this course. And the intention here is like, you can choose to take it sooner. You can choose to take it before you die and experience the peace that is death, eternal peace. We hear that all the time. Rest in peace, right? Rest in peace when you die. But it's like, the expression die before you die. Experience that peace here and now. This next sentence says that the full awareness of the atonement, then, is the recognition that the separation never occurred. And this is just pointing to exactly this cycle of remembering that we are being invited on, is like essentially forgiveness, like forgiving someone else, forgiving yourself for the insane belief that you could believe that you're separate from all that is a tool. But the ultimate forgiveness is that full awareness, that the recognition that the separation never truly occurred. And I want to talk briefly on this because it's like, I think it's easy to think, oh, I'll just believe fully that I am a soul and that I'll believe it 100% of the time, all the time. And then you forget and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot. And if you're anything like me, it can be frustrating to be like, why do I keep forgetting? And this really points to like, this is a journey of remembrance. This is a journey of remembrance. It says that the full awareness of the atonement then is the recognition that the separation never occurred. That's not, okay, I'm not going to say it's not. I'm going to say most of the time, it's an undoing. It's an undoing of the ego, the fear beliefs over time and over this process of renewal, remembering, forgetting, remembering, forgetting. This ultimate recognition that the separation never occurred. Obviously, like I mentioned, for sure happens at death, right? For some people, it's like a spontaneous knowing. They just know. I feel like we hear about these stories about these people. But for the I don't even want to say majority because I don't know numbers. I'm not taking data, but for a lot of the people, it's an undoing of the ego mind of this, the thoughts of separation over time and over constantly just recognizing them, pulling it away, recognizing, pulling it away, recognizing, pulling it away. And something that I really want to add here is like the falling in love with the process, falling madly in love with the process of forgetting and then remembering and then forgetting and then remembering. Because otherwise, what happens is we forget, we judge someone or we judge ourselves or we're self critical. And then we go, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. And I should know better than this. And we cycle in this shame cycle of like, I shouldn't be here now where I am, which is what? Fear, which keeps us trapped in the illusion, preventing us from experiencing that love. So there's this, the course, like I'm talking about, this is the outcome, right? Course talks about the outcome a lot. It also talks about the how. But it talks a lot about like the ultimate, the ultimate is the full belief. This is what this is about. It's a psychological mind training that trains your perception in unity consciousness one. And we do believe, I should say, we do believe, and usually maybe there's some babies that just wake grow up knowing, but we do believe that we're separate most of the time. And so there is a necessity to fall in love with the process. Otherwise, it gets really critical and annoying and frustrating and lame really fast, which negates this entire thing that the whole thing is supposed to be about love, choosing to see love in every single situation. I'm speaking obviously from very personal experience here, the only experience that I've ever had, and see how it's so easy to want to be over there. I think it's a thing for everyone. We want to have these things, we want to do these things, we want to feel this way. And there's the process of frustration or sadness or grief or anger. And A Course in Miracles is a very mental process of don't believe this, just believe this. But I want to add in the element in between, the being able to say, I am willing to see this differently. Those are the words that the Course talks about. But what does that actually mean? I mean, like, especially being a woman and being in my body and being a double Taurus, I am very much like of the earth, of this body. And so, what does it mean to say, I am willing to see this differently? And that willingness is the cycle of alchemy, of being willing to sit in the fire, to have no idea if it's going to work out or how it's going to work out, to feel like the tough and gross sensations in your body, or to notice the thoughts and to not say, oh, I can't think that, I can't think that, I can't think that, but to watch it and to notice it and say, yeah, I am thinking that, but I am willing to see it differently. And I think that is so much different than having a thought being like, oh, I can't think that way. I can't think that way. I need to think happy thoughts. Like, that's not what we're doing here, because that lends to bypassing and avoiding your problems altogether. And I think that's why the Course really, really invites you to that specific point of, I am willing to see this differently. It does not say ever, you should think happy thoughts. You should just be happy. You should just feel at peace. You should just get there, right? It says, here's the outcome, and how is to be willing. And that willingness is like the willingness to sit in it and experience it and feel it. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the how. Um, there's a sentence right here that says, you cannot love what you do not appreciate, and fear makes appreciation impossible. which reminds me, a friend just told me this the other day. He said he went to this conference and he was like, loved it. It was like the self-help kind of business conference. And he said, yeah, they taught me that fear and gratitude cannot coexist. And I thought that was amazing. And I mean, this is exactly what it says. It says you cannot love what you do not appreciate, and fear makes appreciation impossible. And what this reminds me of is, again, it's like that transition back to love. It's like one of the ways that we can return to love. It's so it's like I'm experiencing all of these doubts and uncertainty. And what if I don't make it? What if this happens? What if, you know, the beloved what if of the ego, the ego's favorite conversation to have. And one of the ways to return to love is, okay, what do I have? What is going great right now? And just returning to what is here. I mean, like Alyssa said, I'm alive right now. Like, I'm alive. Returning to what is trains the mind to see love. And a lot of times, gratitude might feel like stupid or dumb or like out of reach, right? Why would I be grateful? I'm freaking pissed off or I'm angry. And in those moments, like, again, the invitation is like, feel what you're feeling, be present with it. And then maybe the next step is like, maybe you're not grateful for the situation. No one's saying you got to be grateful for whatever it is you're moving through. But are you grateful? Can you be grateful that you have food on the table? Can you be grateful that you have a body that you get to experience the depths of these emotions with? Like, what can you be grateful for? And it's like, truthfully, the way that it goes is like, once you can find one thing that you're like actually a little bit grateful for, it's like the floodgates open and you're like, wait a second, I am okay. So that's just one of the beautiful ways that I want to like reinstall and like remind you that gratitude is not only a powerful attractor, but it is like one of the most perfect ways to come back to love in any moment that you are experiencing whatever it is that the ego is having you experience. Okay. Now we're going to return back to that original question that I had asked you guys with this next one. It says, from this which you have made. So before we go any further, I want you to again remind yourself of that situation that you made in your head, that worst case scenario. That's what we're talking about here. From this which you have made, you have taught yourself to believe that you are not what you are. You cannot teach what you have not learned. And what you teach, you strengthen in yourselves because you are sharing it. Every lesson you teach, you are learning. Okay, what the heck, right? Okay, so sometimes I read things and I'm like, if I weren't so willing to look into this, I would be like, whatever, whatever. What does that even say? Um, Okay, from this which you have made, you have taught yourself to believe that you are not what you are. Okay, so what this, from this which you have made, means the problematic circumstance or situation that you are experiencing. You have made it. It is not created because only love can create. But we can make things. We make things all the times. We make up problems and then we don't create them. We make them happen really in our life, right? So from this, what you have made, you have taught yourself, you have used your thoughts to believe that you are not what you are. What you are is your soul. But you have taught yourself to believe that you're not your soul. You have taught yourself to believe that you are the problems that you are experiencing in this life. It says, you cannot teach what you have not learned. And what you teach, you strengthen in yourself because you are sharing it. So teaching, this really gets to the point of like, what the heck is teaching? Teaching is not what I'm doing right now. Teaching about A Course in Miracles. Teaching is what you are making in your life, what you are making with your thoughts, or what you are creating with love. We can teach in two separate ways. We can make up fear thoughts. Oh my God, this is not going to work. I am teaching myself what I am not. I am teaching myself. And it says, as what you teach, you strengthen in yourself because you are sharing it. So I teach myself over and over again. I practice that worst case scenario over and over again in my mind, teaching it to myself over and over. And I learn it. And then I strengthen it in myself because I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it in the way that I move. I'm sharing it in the way that I talk. I'm sharing it in the way that I'm literally making that reality happen because I'm teaching it to myself and everyone around me, thus making an experience happen that reinforces, see, I knew this is who I am. I knew this is how life was. I knew that's why those people are that way. I'm just teaching myself a world of separation, a world of lack, a world of not enoughness. It says, every lesson you teach, you are learning. So this is really like drilling in here. It is so important what we teach to ourselves. It is so important the thoughts that we allow to ruminate. And I don't want to say, like, if you have a bad thought, you're teaching it to yourself, because thoughts present themselves to ask you a question. Hey, do you want to learn this? And in that moment, we have a choice. If the thought presents itself immediately and you go, oh my God, this is not supposed to be here. I'm wrong for this. I shouldn't be thinking these thoughts. And then you go into that spiral of like, I'm bad for having thought that thought in the first place and I should know better. And, shaming yourself in this loop for just experiencing a thought in the first place. As you can see, what are you teaching yourself there? So when a thought presents itself, we have a choice. Hey, do you want to learn this? Or do you want to learn something else? And it's that moment to be willing. And that's where that willingness is. It's not saying this thought came up. Okay, you better be a good girl and like feel happy thoughts and think good things and like be all fine and dandy. Like that's not what we're getting at here. The thought presents itself, says, I am not gonna be able to do this. I'm just not smart enough. Like I'm not that kind of person. Presents itself for us to say, man, do I really want to learn that one? Be willing. I am willing to see this differently. And again, those are the words, but what that might actually be is you crying. It might actually be you raging. It might actually be you ranting and expressing it. You might do a tapping thing. You might journal about it. There are so many ways to be willing to see it differently. And it is not saying, "Oh, I don't want to think this way, so I have to contemplate and come up with the correct thought system." It's not like I need to journal until I know what the correct way is. It is simply the willingness to be like, yo, I am not seeing this in the cool way. I do not need to figure it out right now because figure it out also comes from the ego. I only need to sit back, regulate my nervous system, stop the thinkies. Maybe I need to go work out. Maybe I need to transition into some task that actually feels good and exciting to me. It is just the pivot. You don't have to get to the destination. That's what we try to do a lot of times, right? This is not it. I must find the destination now. No, it is just be willing to pivot, trust that in pivoting, you're literally on the path. Like you've pivoted. You're on the path. There's nowhere to get to. You're there. This literally, Course in Miracles literally talks about nervous system safety. I mean, not exactly, but there's this quote right here that says, safety is the complete relinquishment of attack. Safety is the complete relinquishment of attack. When you are safe, you feel safe in your body. You are saying, the ego does not have control over me. Fear does not have control over me. Attack does not have control over me. This is why, like, again, this is a psychological mind training that we're talking about here, but it doesn't negate the body. because you see this everywhere. You could not, like, A Course in Miracles is a course learned by all. This is just one of the ways to learn it. Many people out there are teaching nervous system regulation. Many people out there are teaching breath work. They're teaching somatics. They're teaching everything under the sun, all of the modalities, and there's not one right way. But what all of them are doing is bringing you back to safety, reminding you you are safe here in the present moment. Because the only moment that ever exists is the present. And when we can come back to the present moment, that is when the divine intersects with us. We have access to all of the information, we have access to the quantum field, but mostly we feel at peace. And because you get what you are, you just attract to you opportunities and experience that replicate this peace. And so when I'm saying like move from fear to love, like, yeah, you can use these prayers. You can use your A Course in Miracles subconscious rewiring statement. And you have all of the tools. I know most of you here literally, like, tapping, meditation, going for a walk, exercising. All of these are ways to return to love. And that is the only thing that you're ever asked to do. And so I with this chapter and kind of just with this moment, I really want to invite to like open up the doors and the ways to how we can return to love. I think that one of the things that it becomes easy to think and believe with everyone saying you need to do this in order to regulate your nervous system, or you need to do it this way in order to have this outcome. And the truth is, like, there are millions of ways, right? You know how to return, though. You know how to return to love. And it's like the invitation of like asking, like, what it is that would be most supportive for me right now? Because sometimes, like, doing a hard workout, that's the last thing that I want to do. But sometimes doing a hard workout's the best thing that I can do to take my thinking mind off of things. Sometimes a meditation sitting still, I got the thinkies. My thinkies are way too fast for a stillness meditation. I need someone to guide me. I want someone to guide me into an experience so that I can feel safe and held in that. And so it's just like getting excited. That is the one thing that I do want to invite is like when we are in that experience of fear or kind of this like egoic death happening, there's like a little tiny like yes, like the tiniest little yes in the background. That's like, though it's not loud and it's not like super exciting, there is a small tiny part of you, and maybe you can even say it in your head like this is it. This is the moment that I'm actually shedding another layer of my ego. And so like seeing like imagining you're a mother to a child and you see your child like really struggling and going through something, but like, oh wow, this is a part of their development. Like they're learning something from this fight that they had with that little boy at the park, and they're learning how to stand up for themselves right now in a new way. And because you have that vision, you can see, oh my god, this is cool. Like they're learning, how can I support them in this? And it's that question of like, how can you mother yourself in this moment? Like what aspect of love is actually going to make you feel held and safe, and like it's okay to experience that doubt and uncertainty and that fear. Like be with yourself, love that part of you so that you can return to love in a harmonious and beautiful way. Like, I think it's easy if we think about ourselves like that child. I'm going to speak for myself because I'm going to speak for myself and sometimes how I talk to that child, which is me. I see this child hurt and I'm like, come on, you're fine. Like, you're fine. Get over it. You should just be happy. Like, just get over it. Just use your mind and get over it. It's like, what? This is a little child. And they just like, they're just going through something. And I feel like there's like such a deeper invitation to just like be with yourself in that process with that excitement as if you're watching an actual child go through a process that like, oh man, this is really going to add to their character one day, and um yeah. So I was really excited to talk to you guys about that because I though I do believe that A Course in Miracles does like walk you through the whole process. It's so mental. Thank you. Um, thank you. Sometimes I literally, did you see how light I touched it? Gone. Um, but essentially just wanted to bring that into the body and sensations of like what does it actually feel like to move from fear to love. Okay. Now I'm gonna do a little rant because there were so many. I actually didn't even intend on doing this. I just go through and like highlight what I really like, what stands out to me, and I happen to highlight like the same sentence 7 different times. So I think that it's important to like show the different iterations of exactly how A Course in Miracles it says the same thing so many times, but in different ways. And I think that just reading these aloud to you guys might actually help you understand this teaching concept that I was just talking about, like in whatever it is that you are thinking, you are teaching, whatever it is that you are engaging in and expecting in your life is what you're teaching and what you're learning. Um, I'll drop them in the chat really quick. Okay. Says, remember always that what you believe, you will teach. An idea which you share, you must have. It awakens in you through the conviction of teaching it. Everything you teach, you are learning. Teach only love and learn that love is yours and you are love. The only way to have peace is to teach peace. By learning it through projection, it becomes a part of what you know, because you cannot teach what you have dissociated. To have, give to all. To have peace, teach peace to learn it. Teach only love, for that is what you are. Again, like so many ways to say it. But I imagine that for you guys, one of those might have like stuck out to you a little bit more than the rest, and like lean into that one. For me, I really like. I mean, I like a lot of them. I highlighted all of them. But I really like that. An idea which you share, you must have. It awakens in you through the conviction of teaching it. This is like again, I'm reminded of Michaela of like how cool it is that like you're in a huge, this is why I was like, I know it doesn't feel like it, but like, well, in like a real life one, because the experiences that are like relating to another are huge teaching moments, and not for them. We think that teaching means like on they're gonna learn, like they're gonna learn what love really is, and they're gonna see like what peace really means, and like honestly, a lot of times they don't. Like a lot of times they just like they're so wrapped up in their world. Maybe they experience some like relief because you're not holding a grudge on them. But really what's the most important from this is like when you teach this piece, you are literally teaching that same level of forgiveness and peace to yourself. And I want you to just think about this. Like you live with you all the time. 24/7. Imagine all the times that you're criticizing yourself, you're judging yourself, you're shaming yourself. You're saying, I should have really know this by now. I should have learned that one by now. When you forgive another, like truly forgive another, that level of peace and forgiveness that you're teaching them, you are hardwiring it into your own system. Like we have every single moment of every single day to kind of like rewire our own system, but things happen so fast that it's like, I think I'm doing it. I think I'm doing it. And you come back to it. But when a real life moment happens with a person or with an experience, you have an opportunity to like hardwire. Like, this is who I am. I'm choosing to show up in a way that's different, like very different than who I was and how I used to do that, which offers you that, like, you now have a visible, like physical representation in your reality to solidify this identity as your soul, this identity as not the ego who can believe that you are being attacked, but the one who is attackless. This soul that is one with all that is, there is nothing to attack because you are and have everything. Again, I really, really love this teaching element. It's like it just like really ties everything together so beautifully. And again, like this is the how. We're talking about right now the how to experience this love. And what a beautiful opportunity. Like it's so selfless and I just see so clearly how this can really create a heaven on earth. Like I think a lot of spiritual practices, and not to like shame or judge anything. I think they're all ways, but a lot of ways are just like only turn inwards and like work on yourself, and I think that can create a lot of isolation and potentially psychosis of like everything becomes about you, and then it could potentially lend to like ego leading the spiritual charge. But this is like it's saying like your freedom is with your brother. Like in order to enter heaven is entered two by two, meaning that you forgiving and loving others is your access to freedom. If you are judging or criticizing or hating or being attacked, even if it's not your attacking, but being attacked by another is still an element of you being chained and not being free. And so it's like you can free yourself and others with this act of teaching, which is just embodying being and giving it. So cool. I have one more kind of longer text that I feel like really paint it's such a beautiful metaphor, and it paints the picture so perfectly of what it is that we're experiencing here. It says, how can you wake children better and more kindly than by a gentle voice that will not frighten them but will merely remind them that the night is over and that the light has come? You do not inform them that the nightmares which frighten them so badly were not real, because children believe in magic. You merely reassure them that they are safe now and train them to recognize the difference between sleeping and waking, so that they will understand they need not be afraid of the dreams. Then, when the bad dreams come, they will call on the light themselves to dispel them. Ah, so good. Okay. I love this metaphor so much. It's like you wouldn't tell someone like imagine someone's like going through it, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm not gonna make it." You're like, "Don't worry, it's just a dream." They're like, "What? What are you talking?" Oh, you're absolutely delusional. Like, my dog just died. Like, what do you mean this is a dream? I'm really experiencing it. Like I really broke my pinky, like whatever it is, it's such a physical thing. So it's like you wouldn't tell a child that it's a dream because they believe in magic. We believe in magic. And so the way is just by reassuring them that you're safe and training them to recognize the difference between sleeping and waking. Again, this lends to that nervous system safety. It's saying like again, like our only responsibility is to remember we're safe now. And then eventually we begin to recognize, wait a second. This is the magic, right? This is the magic is like the things that we make up, the things that we make in our reality. But then the difference between sleeping and waking is being able to see the love that is underneath it, the truth that is underneath it, to understand that we don't need to be afraid of what it is that we're making. And so then when the hard circumstance comes, we remember, oh yeah, all I have to do is call on that light. And then finally I have one more text here that really pulls it all together. It says, as you begin to realize the quiet power of the Holy Spirit's voice and its perfect consistency, it must dawn on your minds that you are trying to undo a decision which was made, oh, guys, I don't know how to say that, irrevocably for you. Um, Anywho, essentially what this is getting at is like, because the Holy Spirit, that voice of like, hold on, it's like really dark in here. Let me turn my light on. Ah, oh, oh, that's so orange. Okay, there we go. Um, this Holy Spirit voice and its perfect consistency, meaning like every time we choose to return to it, it's there. Like it's there every single time. Kate, this reminds me of when you had that remembrance of like, oh my gosh, you've been here the whole time. Like I could have just listened or remembered or talked to you. Like it didn't have to be in this like perfectly curated space. You were just there the whole time. It says it must dawn on your minds that you are trying to undo a decision which has already been made for you. This decision that it's getting at is love. Like this unconditional, undying love has already been made. It is only our forgetful minds that forget. And we should recognize it's like it's basically being like, bro, if it's there every single time, you really think it's ever not there. So if it's there every single time, can't you begin to recognize that this decision has already been made? Like you are already one all with all that is. You already are unconditional love because every time you call on it, it's there. Can you just remember more frequently and easily that it's always there and inviting us into that more consistent remembrance, I'd say. And again, like full circle, bringing it all the way home is like, this is a cycle of remembrance that we're experiencing, this forgetting and then remembering and forgetting and remembering. And as we move through it, we begin to remember more and more. The length of time expands. And then the moments where we forget become shorter until most of the time we're remembering and sometimes we forget. And then obviously like there are seasons. Maybe there are different seasons where you forget a little bit more than usual. And it's this like interplay remembering that we are in this game essentially that we're making up with our thoughts, and whatever we teach we are learning. We can teach either separation or we can teach love, and we experience whatever reality that we teach. So the invitation then is, what are you teaching? And when you realize in a moment that you are teaching something, teaching, you're either teaching thoughts of love or you're teaching thoughts of fear. And in those moments that you are teaching and learning thoughts of fear, it's just that invitation of like, okay, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to be willing. I'm not going to say that I'm going to get there right now. I'm not going to say that I'm going to feel good and happy, but I am going to be willing to see this differently and doing that next step to reach that nervous system safety that it's talking about. All we need to do is return back to that safety, and everything unfolds as a natural byproduct of that. I must say that this last week I had some pretty big experiences, and I personally really noticed myself like being wanting to be in the end of like I was experiencing a deep shedding of this like fear-based ego layer, and I was like, ugh, I don't want to be here. Like, where is the end? And instead of just being with it and finding that safety, I was forcing my way through it and trying to get there. And something that really shifted for me was like, you know, the understanding that the beloved God, spirit, source, all that is, meets you in those places where you take everything down. And sometimes that it is in like complete bliss when you are fully trusting and you're like, yes, this is it. You can experience that connection. But sometimes, may even say a lot of times, we are met with source when we are willing to go to the bottom and to feel our worst and to feel those things that we don't want to feel. Because in those moments, oftentimes we get to the point where it's like, you know that this way that the ego has been going, this fear is not it. And you take it to the end until the ego finally has a breaking point. And in that moment, that breaking point is where God can enter in. And it's not that God hasn't been there the whole time. Our ego has just been like, no, 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 no. Not here, not here, not here, not here. We're doing something. I figured it out myself. And then we have that shatter. And that's where spirit enters. And so that's why that invitation to be like, yes, yes, I'm entering into that space where something is breaking, something is releasing, something is letting go, and being willing to surrender to it, being willing to see it differently, not by forcing, not by making it happen, not by saying, you know what, I know the perfect exercise and it's going to work right away the first time, but just being willing to go in that direction and saying, actually, I have no idea how this is going to go, but I know it'll go well because I'm willing to let go. It's that place of surrender where we find that intimacy and that connection. And I'm realizing, like, in my experience with A Course in Miracles, I'm less about transcending the body. I don't really care about that. I like the body. I think this is a cool experience, and I truthfully I want to be in love with it, but what I am seeing here is like what everyone really wants, what I think everyone really wants at least, is this like intimacy with spirit. I mean, that's why people like, they make all the money because they think that that thing will get them to that feeling, or they do all these drugs because they want to experience that feeling. And so everyone wants that feeling, which is just this like intimacy with God. And we think that by being, okay, I'm saying I'm projecting here. I think I have thought by being like good, by being happy, by being doing the right thing will get me there. But that intimacy comes anywhere, any stage of grief or frustration or happiness or any range of emotion. Spirit God is in every single aspect, but in that full state of surrender, of being willing to let go, of being willing to see it differently. So I hope this helps to like really walk in the embodied experience of A Course in Miracles, because obviously it is very mental and it can be very dense mentally too. So I was really excited to teach this from a new lens and from a very having just gone through the portal lens too. But that is all I have today for the lesson. I would love to hear from you guys though. Any comments, questions, anything?